In an ever-evolving digital landscape, for your business to thrive, you must adapt or die. Welcome to Marketing in the Age of AI, the podcast helping you harness the power of AI and marketing tools to revitalize and grow your business. And now here's your host, marketing expert and author of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI, Emanuel Rose.
Welcome to this episode of Marketing in the Age of AI. Today, we're probably going to have a hard time constraining it to under 30 minutes, but I'm going to do my best to stay with highlights and to stay with high-level concepts. We're going to be digging into AI agentification and agents and how marketing professionals are using AI today, and what it looks like in the near-term future, and how we're all still going to have something to do, even though the AIs are going to be cranking away on our behalf. Today, my guest is Dustin Jensen. Dustin is a forward-thinking leader at AIASystem, where he collaborates with his co-founder Maurice to drive innovative solutions in the AI landscape. With a keen understanding of the intersection between technology and marketing, Dustin is passionate about leveraging artificial intelligence to transform the way businesses engage with their audiences. His wealth of knowledge and experience positions him as a thought leader in this unbelievably dynamic field. So let's dive into the conversation with Dustin Jensen. Dustin, welcome to the show. Thanks so much for taking time to talk with me today.
Oh, absolutely, Mel. Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, you betcha. How in the world did you get drawn into the emerging field of AI and marketing?
Well, this may come as a surprise, but my passion for AI and marketing started all the way back in 2017, which, in the terms of how fast it's moving and being pre-ChatGPT, that's a long time ago.
Yeah, for sure. It was more. We started out with a lot of automations, right? In those days, and a lot of it was embedded in software that we were using.
Yeah, well, it was funny just because I, at that time, why 2017, I always kind of enjoyed AI. I always enjoyed reading about it. The thing is back then there wasn't a lot of content around it. Most of my conversations were really more philosophical in base than just practical, because we had tools, but the best way to look at it is we had AI, but we didn't really have generative AI.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was really like a Fortune 100 playing space, right? Like you had to be able to afford IBM Watson and the 1,000 data points of culture that it was gathering and things like that.
Yeah, it just was in further kind of with the rest of us. It was a lot of stuff was just toys. I think what Grammarly was one of the better before ChatGPT. Grammarly was a great addition. And then there was some of these platforms. I did find some decent video editing, help you do with a little bit of video editing before ChatGPT. I found it was nice, but not much. There wasn't much. I mean, I remember I would say 2020, maybe before, I would be going on Google and just searching like, what are the top AI tools out there? And the list never really updated. Yeah. And every tool I tried out just never really felt like it was good. And there was a lot of these writing tools. It is funny because I can't even remember the name of them. There's a handful of them out there where if you're trying to get a blog written or some sort of content written, you would try it. But sometimes I'm like, man, I could have just did this faster without using the tool.
I think like Jasper, one of those was one of the first ones that I used. And,
Jasper. Jasper was pretty good. Yeah, Jasper was.
They were always super expensive, though. That was what I like you really had to be committed to playing with it.
Yeah. So 27. So what around 2017, what was going through my head is I we talked about these automations and all these tools, but I just never liked the way automations work. And I was thinking a lot about personalization back then. I'm like, well, what if we could just, I always thought about these bots going out and grabbing leads and putting them through the funnel, and how AI could do that. And but it was never there. It was just to always talk. And then I was trying to think about it tactfully, not just philosophically at that time. And then as it kind of progressed, my mind grew, and I started thinking about AI as a whole. So before ChatGPT, I had a little mastermind group that I met with. We talked about AI. We developed this whole thing called AIA, Augmented Intelligent Avatar, which is the company's name. That's the history.
I love it.
We're thinking about this concept of a personalized AI that knew all your data, understood everything, and it could interact with the world for you.
Yeah, I love
and
it.
We would force businesses to have to optimize themselves to attract your augmented avatar. And that was all pre. I'll kind of get to this is kind of pre ChatGPT, and then we can get into post GTP. But then we were like, well, hey, we talk about this, then we talk a lot of philosophical, like how are people going to live in this world? We're talking a lot about that. And in the middle of like, hey, maybe we do a podcast, and we're going to call AI preppers. We're just going to talk about living in the world. And then somewhere in that mix, all of a sudden ChatGPT showed up, and we realized like, hey, this is, the pace is going to change now.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. I love it. I call it like the retailization of AI, right? Where it's like everybody has access to these tools now, versus nerds like us who are digging around trying to figure out something to use and then trying to figure out what we're going to do with it, right?
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. I love your website's beautiful and really explanatory. And you guys are using. Just talk about a little bit about your tech stack of what tools you're using to get results for your clients. We can talk about some of the projects after that.
Well, it just depends on how you want to view. So, I've been, there's two sides of me personally. Like I'm a fractional executive, so I go on and work with high growth companies, and a big portion of that is around marketing, because in any growth situation, that everyone, all they say is we want more leads. Sometimes they don't concern themselves the other things, but more leads. So, at that time, of course, tools like ChatGPT, you get Claude, Gemini has improved a lot since December. Manus, I don't know if I ever say it, Manus, it's MANUS.
I think it's Manus. Yeah.
Yeah. I always say it wrong, but that tool, we use that a lot. And so early on, I would just, mostly it was just kind of coaching to help people utilize those tools better. Like Claude, before December, Claude was the only one where you could set up like a project and create like a knowledge base. And so then you could have these custom, make it more custom. And that's where, RAG, which I won't try to bore people with that terminology, but that's when we could take outside information and plug it into these large language models and make them a little more custom. But that was on that side. But in that, I've always kind of realized that this is going to progress past this. And so I've always been trying to figure out a way to enter the market in a way that I could do this more on a commercial level and a little less on the consulting side. Showing people how to set up custom GTPs and stuff, it's more on the consulting side. And when the term agent started becoming a little more popular, I've read about it in some papers. It was just a term that was brought up. Didn't know that was going to be what stuck, and I guess it did, the term agent. And once that started becoming more evident, so like this is let's go back just to December, because I feel like around December is when it started to feel like the agents could actually come and start completing tasks, like the infrastructure itself, where the RAG, which like if there's people more development savvy, I'll say like something like Pinecone, platforms like that started becoming more useful, where you could build these. And just to kind of, what is RAG? RAG is just basically a knowledge base, or you could call it a database of information to allow the AI to understand your company or the task, to understand it better, right?
Yeah, and December was right after Anthropic released the MCP, and so that's really, I think, what pushed everything ahead, was, don't you think?
Oh yeah, that's obviously a huge. That and it seemed, and just kind of fast forward today, it looks like that's just going to end up being the standard. People kind of, there isn't really a battle. It just kind of everyone just is getting behind it and kind of pushing along. So and that kind of infrastructure, that's that's really, those kind of things are really important where we start getting those standards with, and if people, I don't know if people on the podcast kind of understand, but it's just basically how we can start connect kind of a centralized, I don't want to use the centralized, just sort of a common protocol that we all can call on. It's like when we're building the World Wide Web, we had to have a protocol that everyone stuck to, because if everyone was off in their own little silos, well, adoption would suffer.
Well, so then talk to me a little bit about some of the deployments that you're doing right now, or you're building for clients right now, that you're excited about.
Well, so what we're trying to do, because when we first really were trying to go out, we started really focusing on the agentic side, where we were going to really start trying to build these systems. Of course, we talked a lot about multi-agent ecosystems, multimodal agents, and the multi-agent ecosystem is basically, just to kind of explain, is where you have a bunch of agents that are out doing a lot of tasks within an organization, and they have centralized agents, like orchestrating agents,
like a manager.
Like a manager, yeah, a manager in the middle, and there could be several managers. You can start creating a hierarchy. So we were ambitious, like, hey, we're going to just go into organization. We're going to just start building these multi-agent ecosystems. But we quickly realized that even that we realized that the infrastructure is starting to be there, and as a team we could do it. I don't think organizations were ready to really even understand that. And so when we're going into organizations, we've dialed it really far back and started realizing we've got to just start handling really high impact workflows first.
I love it. Yep.
And then, but when we build that agent, though, we need to realize that there is going to be an ecosystem in the future.
Sure. Yeah.
So we have to build the agent prepared to join that team. And that's how we're approaching it. And I know you kind of asked about certain applications. So what we've gotten really focused on right now is what we call voice UI, or voice interface. And we're really focused on building on top of that. So a lot of our use cases that we're building right now is focused on how people can use voice to get things done within their workflows.
Yeah. So just a little more, drill down on that a little bit more. What does that look like? Like, what kind of company, kind of industry, and how are you doing that?
Well, I'll give you a couple. So, one that we're developing now is where we had a software company, a SaaS company that works with like contractors, like roofing, pool companies, and things like that. They've had a really high growth rate, and where they got like 6,000 users. It's only about 3 years old. And what's happened is they're dealing with contractors, and they're finding out that the usage of the platform is a little low, or the learning curve of the platform is low. And it makes sense. These are pool builders, they don't, they struggle to, even if they know the tech, they're just so busy. How do they even interact with the tech?
Sure.
So we started to figure out how we could do an AI tutor for the platform. Cool. That's where we started. And we were going to create this very interactive voice, multimodal AI tutor to allow them to quickly learn the platform. But we quickly figured out that they would only spend an hour trying to learn this, and then the rest of the time they'd be out in the field. So we realized, well, that's not, even with an AI tutor, that's just not enough.
Sure.
And so what we end up finding after speaking, getting out into the market and speaking with users and administrators and companies, we realized that we had to have a solution that just allowed them to, they need the software. They want to use the software, but then they can't learn it. So what we What we realized what we needed to do is we needed to be able to have an agent that can just go in and get it done for you, instead of you needing to sign into it or hire an agent to do it.
Right.
Yeah.
So
So
you build them an assistant.
we are basically like an administrator or an office secretary that would do it. We're basically building them that. And so you can think of the office secretary as being like the orchestrating agent. And so then we have to build all the little agents that go all over the platform, handling all these tasks. So we've just been starting with some of those high impact tasks. So one of them was is someone needs to enter. So they're on a job site and they need to enter a job log. And what's different, and what happens is they're on the site, it's late, they're cleaning up, they're not going to go back to the office, they're not going to do a job log, but this job log can become very crucial for like the project managers or superintendents for the team, or liability purpose, real important. So, and they don't want, and their contract, usually these contractors' screens are all broken anyways, right?
Yeah.
So they can't even go use their phone. So we're like, well, maybe they could just do this with voice, and that's exactly what we built. So did
you have them call a number or use an app, or how are you doing that?
Call a phone, just there's call in phone. So they just call the number. An agent comes up, it knows what it needs to do. It's able to, that agent, we have two access points. We call it, you can go through the back door or the front door.
Nice.
The back doors will go through an API through the platform, and it can go perform a lot of the task that way. But it's difficult there. The other way was called a smart browser. So literally, you can imagine an office secretary sitting at her computer, and you're talking to her, and she's in there typing away and doing stuff. Except we have an agent that can go use essentially use your key and mouse and go enter the information into the platform for you through the browser.
Yeah, that's cool. And so they're able to just call in, talk to the voice agent, and then it's going to go and add an update to the project management file of whatever type it is.
Exactly, just updates the log, and it's a done deal. And the agent on the other side too, it'll ask, it can ask questions. You can ask clarifying questions and stuff. And just a little forward thinking, the way that we see that happening is eventually that agent will analyze that call, the job log, and it can know what materials need to order and things like that. So our voice UI interface that we built so far, it can do inbound and outbound. So it could go and call the concrete companies like, hey, we need to have the concrete down there by Friday. And it could go make that call for you.
That's cool. Also, I guess you could have the agent call and ask if there hadn't been a report from the field into the call, right?
That was one of the first kind of features. So we have that where it just calls them. So if the close of the day, it doesn't, they don't do the report, it's already built where it'll call them up and basically tell them, hey, you didn't do your log.
Love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool. So yeah, that's getting the data from the field that the administrators need. Well, with all the progress that we've kind of made in building agents and building managers, there's still a lot of anxiety out there about AI replacing us, and I wonder what you think about the machines replacing the humans.
Well, when I share this, I have like the reality check, and then there's the opportunity and the hope, the hope that's involved in it. The reality check is no matter how we look at this, it's going to disrupt the economy, the marketplace. It's going to get disrupted.
Sure.
Meaning there will most likely be a point of very high unemployment, but it doesn't necessarily mean that that's a representation of our ongoing future. It's just, this is disruptive. So, I always joke, and people in like high growth startups, they'll always try to go into the pitch room or raise money on, hey, we're disruptive. I'm like, well,
yeah, right.
Nobody actually wants to be disrupted.
I know.
Transformed, yes, but not disrupted, So, yeah. But AI is gonna absolutely, in some cases, it's just gonna be disruptive. We're entering. I'm not using consciousness as a term of like, hey, do we have AGS? I'm just saying we now have a competition of someone that can think and has some level cognitive ability. I'm not trying to get in the philosophicals of that or the technical, but just as a basis, yes, we have something that takes, and if anything, it just raises other people's IQ significantly. So there's going to be part of that. But early on, during that disruption, I think the one part where the opportunity is that we are still experts of the workflow. We still own the workflow. As a subject matter expert, you own it. And so there's a lot of room for us. And that's our focus of our main focus of the company isn't just out building these agents, is doing what we call just workflow discovery. We're just trying to learn as much about every workflow. We're just like these workflow sponges, right? And so we try to connect with attorneys and accountants and people that have just these interesting job titles. It just doesn't matter if they're an SME. We'll talk to them and understand their workflows. So there's a lot of opportunity in that, and so kind of dialing into that. So, but what happens as we discover more workflows? What happens is AI starts taking away the service part, and it starts completing the task for you. And a lot of us, our value is based on providing a service. And the question is, well, what do you do as that task goes away? It's going to go away. That's going to happen. It's happening.
You're not avoiding that.
Exactly. And so the question is, well, what do you do when the task goes away? Well, we think, well, instead of being a service provider, we'll provide AI solutions. You're still the expert on the workflow, so you can still go into an organization and describe exactly why this AI solution will work and help them set it up, and you can be you can help manage that. And what's nice is now, instead of trading your time for money, you actually have something that scales, and so you can kind of shift the way you look at your business models and your revenue models.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, I think that there's two big roles that are emerging right now, right? There's one who's like the change management leader, right? And and you and I are acting in that role of saying, hey, here's this massive change that's happening. We need to get excited about it, embrace it. We need to build a system. We need to get certain parts of the company understanding how it works and getting excited about it also, and implementation and seeing the benefits of it. Like that's our job. That's the job of executives in the businesses. The other part is that it takes away, let's say it takes away 10 hours of administrative work for me, which it has. My job then becomes management and emotional intelligence and vision and strategy, right? And saying what's going to happen over the next 3 years, and as people are having more time to do, are they going to just go and work more? Are they going to be more creative? Are they going to spend more time with their friends and family? Are they going to spend more time on vacation, right? Like, we have to start understanding how humans are going to respond to this, and then create offers for that new situation in the short term, in the next 3 years, I think.
No, yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's. I'm curious about kind of what's next for you on the horizon. You guys are building voice interface products right now. Or is there anything that's kind of the next thing in your product shift?
Well, so the voice UI, the voice interface at the moment, in the foreseeable future, is where we focus we're focusing our efforts. The reason we're focusing there is just we assume that now that we have all these agents that can work in the background, things like that, what becomes possible is to actually get tasks done through the voice. So or if you want to go online and buy something, or you want to get something done, that's, even though it doesn't seem complicating for the human to do, but for the agent in the background, it's a complicating task. So even if you're just ordering something, you kind of need an agent that goes and does product research, looks at reviews. You need an agent that is telling you the feedback from that. You need an agent that actually goes and purchases the product, and all these things kind of have to happen. And we're also kind of seeing, we're seeing sort of the trend of like glasses. Obviously, the Meta and are putting a lot of effort in that. And the reason is I think eventually the cell phone screen will become less important on a day-to-day. And now if you have a new a wearable with voice, you can just talk through things. So you can be on a walk and you can be doing things and you can be getting things done. And these agents are able to reason with you, research with you, think with you. You have a small screen that can give you some visual cues if you need it for certain things. And because of that, we think that that's just there's a huge upside opportunity in voice UI. And so what we're doing is we're basically figuring out how we put more and more workflows on top of our voice UI. And just to kind of simplify what a voice UI is kind of like is it's like a call. It's like basically having a call. It's like a call center that can do inbound and outbound calls, except the call center is manned with all these subject matter experts, doctors, lawyers, accountants, marketing professionals, SEO specialists, all those, like they can all exist inside that call center, and they're a phone call away from going and executing tasks. Will it completely replace computers and things like that? No, but maybe over a 10-year, 20-year period, it'll be like mobile. You'll slowly see that shift. Yeah.
Well, it's an interesting concept, and I'm anxious to observe and participate in your commercialization of it, because I think that's it's forward thinking, and it makes it very easy interface, right? Just like you're calling and talking to your virtual assistant.
Right. It's the oldest. As far as since we've been communicating, it's probably one of the oldest. It's pretty much the oldest interface that exists. So, true.
Oh, wow. Well, Dustin, I really appreciate you walking me through that. I know we just barely scratched the surface. I'd love to have you on the show again in a couple months, and we can go on a little different walk if you're interested. People are interested in getting in touch with you. How do they get in touch with you and AIASystem?
If you can go to our website, AIASystems.com. There you can reach out to us, and you can contact us that way. Or if you'd like to just get a hold of me directly, you can just go to LinkedIn and DM me directly. I'm pretty responsive, especially if you want to talk about workflows. I'll respond. So that LinkedIn is probably the quickest, fastest way to reach out to me and discuss things.
Well, that's good stuff, and I agree with you. Charting the workflows is one of the critical activities we need to understand, both for ourselves and our team members and the people who report to us, because that helps really to easily identify where we push things to the agent and where we keep things for the human, right?
That's right. Yeah. So there's hope. But there will be some disruption on the way.
I like it. It's a message of hope from Dustin Jensen, and I appreciate your time today. And we'll have you on the show again in a little bit, so we can see what else is going on for you guys.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thanks, Dustin. Well, it's good. It's an interesting reminder that your workflows are the beginning of saving time for yourself and your team. And I encourage you to take some time today, find an AI tool or two and test them and see if there's a way that you can get some time back from your work by designating it to an AI tool, and that you use that time to get outside, to spend with your friends and family, or to spend it upskilling and learning about this amazing transition that we're in, study some leading change or emotional intelligence, because those are the activities that humans are always going to be most suited for. Hope this was a valuable episode for you. This is Emanuel Rose, Marketing in the Age of AI.
Thanks for listening to Marketing in the Age of AI. Be sure to subscribe wherever you heard this podcast so you never miss a future episode. Your copy of Authentic Marketing in the Age of AI is available at Amazon.com or EmanuelRose.com. You can also connect with Emanuel on LinkedIn. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.